Your Excellency, now in a World Bank recent ranking, improved economies. Can you just shed some light on how you achieved that?
Decided on doing things they want to do. In most cases, there will be progress and results. Now, Rwanda's tragic history and many other things are well known, but out of that tragic situation, Rwanda decided we can do better, we want to do better, we want to move forward. So the leadership generally in Rwanda mobilized our people and confronted the challenges as they were. And to confront any problem, you need to first understand it, define it, and say, what are the possibilities I have to deal with the problem? What is the best way to go about it? And then you draw in as many people as you can to make their own contributions. This is really, and of course, among other things you have to deal with, there are many problems you have had to address. But we concentrated one on building capacity for people and for education, through training, built institutions so that through them people can deliver, and then identified different sector areas that we need to concentrate on that can help us maximize the speed and progress. And one of them was business.
Business.
How do we allow businesses to thrive? How do we attract investments into Rwanda? How do we allow Rwandans, and not only Rwandans, but neighbors? Maybe we'll come to that. I'll demonstrate to you how we have not only mobilized Rwandans to be part of our story, whether it is doing business or other things. We have also mobilized people in the region and beyond to say, we want your investments, your inputs into this growth story of Rwanda, so that you benefit and we benefit. And therefore, what are the conditions that we need to create in Rwanda that will make you happy in doing business and basing in Rwanda, but also will make us happy to see that we are making good progress. So that's how really it has all happened. But we every day mobilize our people to say, give whatever you have in you, not only for the benefit of your country. At the end of the day, when your country has benefited, you have benefited. And the response has been very good.
Wow, thank you very much. Let's just give you a big thumbs up. As we speak about business, it will be key to talk about raising job opportunities, the unemployment crisis. Now, the young people that you're seeing here represent the 3.5 billion young people under the age of 27. Now, what is your government doing, sir, to ensure that the young people will have jobs?
Job creation, generally, job creation is something we focus on. But let me give you some more figures to work on. In Rwanda, under 20, we have 50% of our population are under the age of 20. 50%. 70% are people under 30. You are in trouble if you don't invest in this big portion of your population.
Correct.
But you have a huge opportunity if you invest in these people. So one area of investment is to think of how can they be employed. on the labor market? Or how can they even create jobs for themselves as entrepreneurs, as innovators, as people? Given a conducive environment, they will think of how to move on with their lives and how to thrive in their communities. Therefore, we give a big chunk of our national budget for it, close to 20%. The other big chunk goes into health, so that we even not only have young people, but we also have healthy people.
Great.
Young people. And then the other big chunk goes to infrastructure. And then the rest is shared in many other areas. So this is really how we've been going about it now. But we want, through innovation, entrepreneurship, it's all around doing business. And Rwanda is, so to speak, a small market on its own. That's why we have concentrated on encouraging regional integration, so that we go beyond Rwanda and embrace the others and bring them in. So that's how we have been really moving to make sure that the job opportunities, therefore, are not just internal in Rwanda, but they are also across in the wider space of the region, or even beyond, given on how we have invested in our people, skills, education, vocational and technical training, which we have been investing in, so that people are out there thinking of not only what to do, but also have the tools in their hands to work with, whether in industries where people are investing or in the area where they can create their own jobs.
Thank you, sir. Now, Your Excellency, you spoke about the regional integration and just how it's important for, even as a nation, to be in good standing with his regional partners. Now, my question to you is that with what you see happening in nations like, in regions like North Africa and particularly nations like Egypt, what do you see as key priorities to address in communities after conflict?
You see, you have to start from thinking about these issues globally. You don't want so much draw lines and say, I'll concentrate on this category and not this. You first look at it as a population, as a people. Then you can move on breaking down that and saying the needs for this and is this, and what can come out because of these investments is also expected to be that. So the young people, as I said, and for many reasons, that you have a long time with them, after all.
Yes, yes.
It means if you look at lifespans, then it means you still have a big chance with these young people for a long time.
Can I just
Yes.
interject on that one?
Yes.
Now, I'm just going to be a bit naughty.
Sure.
Now,
I don't mind.
Your Excellency, there's that young child in primary school, in a Rwandan school, who says, when I grow up, I want to be the president of Rwanda.
Yes.
Now,
He will find me gone after all. So.
what about that older young person who's maybe in university and saying, when I grow up, I want to be the president of Rwanda?
Sure.
What do you have to say about that?
Well, I encourage that. Of course, with the simple fact that, and I would want as many of them as there are to think about that. But you remember at any one given time, you don't have one president anyway. But the beauty of it is that with everyone aspiring to be, it means they are working hard. The competition is huge. So that makes them better people. Even those who don't end up being presidents, they still end up in other places where they can still make good progress with their lives.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Now, Your Excellency, that was the easy part. Now I'm going to open up to questions from the young people of Africa, the global shapers.
I will get back to the questions that my friend here...
Please introduce yourself.
My name is Mustafa Al-Fei. I'm a junior judge from Egypt. I'm also a member of the Global Shapers community from the Giza. A month ago, I was paid a visit by a friend from the Rockefeller Foundation. His name is Carl Brown, and he was monitoring what's happening in Egypt, and he suggested this. It was like now 20 years since what happened in Rwanda, and he told me this. What stops you from the Egyptian society from doing the same thing, like what happened in Rwanda, just forgiveness? And I started reading about this, but how did you move from what happened that day, from what happened that year, into Rwanda that we know now, like you said, one of the 10 growing economies coming up? So this is what he was suggesting, and I kept reading in it, but definitely someone like you will give them more insights of how can we pass this transition phase that we've been going on and on and on, and it doesn't seem like it's ending. So how can we pass through this? How can we build this coexistence between different sectors in Egypt? Thank you.
Well, it's really as complex as you can have it, the kind of question you raised and the practical side of it. And I don't want to have anyone assume that I'm sitting here with the solutions to these problems, even if in our own situation something has worked and we made good progress. But I'll tell you the story so that maybe around that you can think about other things, especially within the situation of Egypt, and say, oh, maybe if one did that and added something else because of Egypt's specificity, then maybe you can. But there are key principles or issues, if you will, one can talk about. In our country and in our problem, very severe problem we had, and thankfully making good progress on, we had to start by being brutally honest with ourselves. It's like, this is our problem. This is our creation. This is something we created and participated in. Thirdly, this is a problem where everybody was a loser. You know, there is no side that won really in this problem of ours, of 94. Everybody was a loser. Even those of us who fought wars and, you know, defeated the others who were committing genocide and so on and so forth, we were all losers because we lost our own people, the ones who were killed in the genocide. So the killers, the ones that were killed, left no Rwandan winner. Everybody was a loser. So we have to start from that point. And then talk to each other and say, so if this kind of thing made everyone a loser, why should we pursue policies like this or ways like this? We need to do something else. And here we were helped by the fact that, you know, sometimes you can think like this, but there is no actor to make it happen. You see the point? In our case, because even of the struggle that had been going on, we stopped the genocide and ended decades of history of politics of division and set out to build a better Rwanda. So there was therefore part of the whole situation saying, no, we are here to fight this kind of thing. So we want to move forward. And we went ahead and did just that. But building on saying, right, since we are all losers anyway, so the other being here or there or on the other side doesn't really make much sense. We can only be on one side, all of us. Yeah. That is the side of winning. And you can't win without transforming the whole country that involves all these other sides, irrespective of where they want to count themselves. So we really drew lessons and had an open conversation, we still do up to this point, of all kinds of messes we have been in. And therefore said, no, the only thing that can take us, the whole nonsense about, you are from this, you are from that, you are ethnic this or ethnic that, it's all rubbish. That's it. At the end of the day, we are Rwandans. That's it. You can call yourself whatever you want to call, a religion, ethnic state, or whatever, but at the end of the day, I need you, you need me. So let's work together for the common good.
Fantastic.
Yes, so that's how we have been doing it. So I hope in Egypt, therefore, you can find leaders, people, and I think the majority of Egyptians or Rwandans, given this logic, given this right message, everybody wants to live their lives. They want an opportunity to say, oh, this message is something we associate with. So if you...
We're just hoping for leaders to unite instead of leaders who divide.
Sorry?
We're hoping for leaders who would unite
exactly.
instead of divide.
Absolutely.
Excellent.
Absolutely.
Wow, that's a very...
Hello, my name is Deborah Henkra, and I'm a global shaper from the Accra Hub. I want to say thank you for making time for us. I was an Addis 2 years ago when you made time for us again, so I really appreciate the attention you pay to our community.
Thank you.
So I have a question. Someone once said to me, and I thought it was very interesting, that when people say bad things about you, don't listen to them.
When they do what?
When people say bad things about you, don't listen to them. They may hate you. When they say good things, yeah. Okay. When they say good things, when they say good things about you, don't listen to them too, because they may be lying to you. Yes. Only listen to your heart, because you know where you want to go, what you want, etc. So I think your presidency has gotten a lot of public acclaim from all over the world, and there's been some criticism as well. I'm very curious to hear from you what you think about your own presidency. Are you the president that you thought you would become? Are you happy? Are you happy with your performance? And how do you think about those things? And for us as young leaders in various sectors, how will you advise us to think about how we measure our performance?
Right. You see, on the one hand, I have been very fortunate. I actually maybe became, irrespective of the judgment one may make afterwards. I just want to make this point. I think I've become a better president than I thought I would be. Whether I have had shortcomings but I still think I'm better, and for one reason. I've been made better by those I have led because of their own participation. In fact, many of them have made my work much easier than I thought it was going to be. So, and what the situation you have raised is something I'm very conversant with. But maybe without any prejudice to what you've said, and having not even been told by somebody what you were told. I knew one thing from the beginning, that, you know, one time I was having an interview and a journalist asked me, said, I think it was a Time magazine journalist, he said, you know, President, you are not a saint, but so there are these and this. I said, well, first of all, tell me who is a saint. So from the beginning, I knew I was not a saint. And I thought I shouldn't even be thinking about working towards becoming one, because I didn't understand what that would entail. I knew in any struggle, in any fight, there are bruises and so many things, ugly things happen. But you have to be driven and by and to have a cause why you are doing what you are doing. So even with all the controversies said or criticisms and so on and so forth, these are not things we live for or even by, but they are part of the lives we live. But we have aspirations, we have ambitions, everyone, like anybody else, just human beings, you want better things for you, but in terms of leadership, for the nation, for the people. But there are things that will always say the truth, whether I like it or not. At the end of the day, with the minuses and pluses and so on and so forth, what is the net result? And this cannot be said by me, but by what you see on the ground or the people in Rwanda. See what I mean? So there are things that don't tell lies. Facts, numbers, and especially if they are seen and are to be believed, then you go by that. So with even any kinds of shortcomings that one might have had, what is the situation today in Rwanda as opposed to the situation we had yesterday?
Thank you for that.
So just let me go to a few facts. You will ask about women empowerment. Women will say to themselves, they don't have to say. You will talk about children going to school. 98% of the first 9 years of education, 98%. 6 years of primary and 3 years of lower secondary go to school and study. 98% of our children. Agriculture. We have food security. People, the majority of our people are able to put food on the table. They have food in our own incomes from agriculture. People doing business. Rwandans are doing business. People from outside come to do business in Rwanda. Governance, decentralization, districts, sectors, provinces have structures through which they govern, and it's back and forth, bottom up, also central, down to the decentralized entities. These are things that are there. Investment in infrastructure, in broadband. We have laid 4,000 kilometers of fiber across the country. Communication, access to information has been increasing for so much. Healthcare. Our people, 85% of our population, the 12 million Rwandans, 85% have access to health insurance, covered and for their own health. I can go on and on and on and on. So, hate me or like me, these things have happened.
Hey, wow, let's give it up.
Now, unfortunately, our time is very limited, so we're just going to take 2 more. So there's that third one there, and then I'll ask His Excellency to choose the last one.
Okay, that's a hard task.
Yeah, thank you, Your Excellency. I'm really honored to be here. My name is Kanini Mutoni. I am a young global leader for 2014 of the World Economic Forum. I'm also an entrepreneur, a wife, a mother, and an impact investor. Now, Your Excellency, I've read your personal story, and it really touched me. I read a story about how your mother carried you on her back during the first troubles in Rwanda and took you to safety to a refugee camp. So I believe that you actually really understand the role of the African woman in building the continent and making it develop. Rwanda has about 64% of females in its parliament. I really want to understand, what did Rwanda do differently? How were you able to empower so many women, bring them to the table, and what can countries like Kenya, which is my home country, learn from Rwanda?
There are many lessons to learn all over Africa. Rwanda, Kenya, any other country in Africa presented here. The only difference is, do we actually even want to learn? Because you see, there are lessons there, but you have to make the choice of learning the lessons. You see what I mean? So that's where the difference is. For us, we've had a lot of lessons to learn from, including from, learning the hard way. Because the lessons of our situation have been really very hard all the time. But we have been wanting and been ready to learn. And you can't learn a lesson unless you are able to translate that into something that changes the situation. It's not just a textbook thing, and then you go for an exam. They ask you, when do you do this? What do you do? And then you answer, and then they give you 100%, and you walk away. No, this world is different. You must learn lessons and translate them into things that impact. As you said, an impact investor you are. The impact must be real, isn't it? It's the practical side of it that at the end of the day creates impact. So what we've been learning and is also to do things. Learning may have knowledge, but if you don't do things, that knowledge is just frozen. It's like it's in a fridge and freezing and locked there. Until you are able to do something based on what you've learned. That's the difference Rwanda has, I've seen in my own country. There are more knowledgeable people in other places, probably, about their own problems, about their solutions. There are things we have learned actually from, say, Kenya or from other countries. But the difference has been we go to learn there because we want to do things that will differentiate us from yesterday when things were so bad. That's it.
Excellent. Now, Your Excellency?
Yes, you want me to
I'm
choose?
going to just delegate the difficult responsibility of choosing your next question. Of all these lovely faces, of all these beautiful faces, who do you...
Choose whichever face you want.
He's a very wise man. Now, in the light of maybe women empowerment and encouraging women's voices, there's a lovely at the back, yeah.
Hello, my name is Zainab Mahmoud. I'm a global shaper from Kano. I was just going to start by saying I think everybody here knows across Africa today there is a huge, so to speak, rebellion against governments. And a lot of it is due to poor governance or not a lack of good governance and accountability. You mentioned in Rwanda how it didn't matter what ethnic background you came from. Rwandans work together for a better country. I wonder, in countries that haven't gone through such a bad experience, do you think the way forward is equal representation in terms of ethnic backgrounds and religion is the way forward in good governance, even though sometimes it's at an expense of merit?
Right.
Thank you.
No, there is not one, there is no magic bullet. And the problems are different, or the causes may be different from one place to another. So I have no prescription of saying the answer to this such a problem is this. But we can talk about principles and the general things. You know, countries, and I want to say this emphatically, people don't have to go to the extreme of problems in order for them to come back and start doing what needs to be done. Because in most cases, like for example, in our case, our country didn't need to be better by going through a genocide. I mean, it's ridiculous. Because what led to genocide is something that was there for many years, but never addressed from colonial times up to the time Rwanda became independent. Most of these underlying issues that resulted into a genocide were there. People knew about them. They talked about them. They were documented. But they waited until there was a destruction of this kind, and then then we merged Rwandans into better people and started. So, what you have, we said you've come from Kano, and that's close to the problem area? Is that close to the problem area you have around? Yes. And you see, but we also don't need to assume, we don't have to assume that for every conflict, or the one who causes it, necessarily has legitimate grievance. You see what I mean? Much as in many other cases you may find there is a legitimate grievance, others, or justification, if you will. Because now looking at what is happening and maybe relating it to a possible cause, what would be the justification for abducting girls in a school? And what wrong have they done, first of all? If you go and shoot soldiers or politicians, or I can understand you are saying, no, this is the one who caused this problem I have. But you shoot a girl in a school, and are you associating that action with real legitimate grievance that you have? Do you have, first of all, a legitimate grievance against the girl or these girls? Now, these people are used as pawns, which is the wrong thing. If it is politics that you have problems with, there are those who are behind it, whom you can have a conflict with. That's my viewpoint. So the challenge of leadership is always to say, what is the problem? Why is there this? Whether religious or politics or issues of poverty, or that either are directly linked with the problem or indirectly linked with the problem. It's about thinking about, seeing them and thinking about them and addressing them in a real sense. That because later on, if a problem results when you are addressing a problem, it is easier to deal with. Yes, because you have all factors and many actors on your side, you see? But if you allow the line to be blurred, it's not clear, then you have a divided kind of support. People will be confused. They say, maybe these people have a point, because it is not clear. So the leadership needs to make it clear, needs to also have action aimed at dealing with the problem all the time. You don't want to wait until there is a disaster and then you go back and address the problem. You need to work towards preventing it. So, but that is always a challenge. You see it across. It's very unfortunate because we don't seem to learn lessons. We were talking about a situation here, say in Nigeria, which happily, I think I'm happy to be here myself because, and many others I know, and it's good because some of those who abducted these girls and did whatever they did, their sole aim was to say Nigeria shouldn't host the World Economic Forum. You see, I'm imagining that's one, if this may not be the only thing, it's one of the things. And if it hadn't happened, or if we hadn't come, then they would have actually won. We can't contribute to the victory of terrorists. No, we can't. So we would rather just fight them. We need to fight them. So, but then you hear there's another case in the Central African Republic already. You've probably been reading stories, groups fighting, you know, Muslims against Christians and these fellow Africans from Central Africa, they are all poor, whether you're Muslim or, or Christian. No. Instead of turning against poverty, they turn against each other. It doesn't make sense. So, but there have to be leaders who don't play in the hands of such a shallowness, really, of politics. So we have our own troops contributing there. They tell us every day when they are there separating people. These are people from Central Africa. They share the same problems. By the way, they share the same wealth that Central African Republic has, enormous, but which doesn't benefit any Central African person. You know, Central Africa is so wealthy. Well, that only their people can be poor. I don't understand how that happens. So, and then later on, as if that is not bad enough, they turn against each other. So we don't have to face such an extreme side of problems in order for us to turn around and start addressing problems. So we need to address for ourselves.
Thank you. Your Excellency,
Are we done?
I'm going to ask, sir,
Yes.
a couple of parting shots that you would like the young people of Africa to go away with.
Yes. You young people of Africa, really do me a favor, but do yourselves a favor also. Don't get lost in pettiness. We have come to be so much used to, as you have seen, where anyway, have confidence and self-belief that whatever problems we face as a country, as countries of continent or as continent as a whole, we have the capacity in ourselves that we just don't put to good use to deal with them. So it's your challenge to make sure that you understand you have this capacity in you, or the potential in you, and collectively there is no insurmountable problems for a particular country or for the continent as a whole. But we really need to think big. We need to depart from this pettiness of, one against the other over nothing, and build the strength for the improvement of all of us. And it is you to make the difference. And try to make things better than we tried and maybe even didn't succeed in achieving, but you can do it. So do it.